Hi everyone, it is Who Day here in Cincinnati, and I'm wearing my Bengals attire because our Cincinnati Bengals are making it to the playoffs this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. And in honor of that, I have done some stripy cups, and this is a technique where I have used glaze, then wax, then I wiped off the extra glaze, and then I dipped it in another glaze. So this, I'm going to be showing you the process, and it's a nice way that you can get some fun little details. So enjoy. Now, you can see that previously I have painted on areas. These are going to be stripes, and these are orange. The background is eventually going to be black. My idea is I'm going to wax over the orange, but I'm not going to wax all the way to the edge. So as I do this, I'm leaving a little edge exposed of the orange, because what I'd like to do is sponge away the edge of the orange, so I'm going to have a real nice precise shape. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the wax to all of these areas. And here I'm just continuing with the application of the wax, being really careful to make sure that the wax stays within the orange, leaving an orange border all the way around it, just to make sure that, you know, I don't get wax on any of the clay. All right, there we go. So obviously I had the brush coats of glaze were dry first. It was 3 brush coats of glaze and then 1 brush coat of wax. Now the wax that I used is Forbes wax. This one I got from my local supplier, Cornell Studio Supply in Dayton. They're great. But I have experimented with some different wax, and I do like the quality of the Forbes wax. It works really well. I'm going to let this dry thoroughly, and then I'll show you when I sponge it off. This is a little trick for my wax. I find that the lid wants to stick really well, so if you ever have something like that, I just put a real thin piece of plastic bag between the lid and the pot, and that will help to prevent it from kind of cementing itself on. And now that the wax is fully dried, I'm going to take my sponge and sponge off all of the excess orange glaze that goes out beyond the wax. Again, it's really important that the wax stayed within that area of orange. I wanted to make sure that the wax did not get on the raw clay at all. It's just on the orange, and then the orange extends out probably another 1/8 of an inch or a little bit more beyond the edge of the wax. Now, as I do this, I do use cold water on my sponge, and you know, I try not to over wipe it too much, but I'm just really going right along the edge just to make sure that I'm trying to get it as precise as I possibly can. I'm using like a nice soft sponge, and I'm rinsing it out as I go just to remove the glaze that's there. And this does take me probably like 5 minutes to do a couple of these mugs. The wax, again, this Forbes wax is really, it's got a nice hard surface, so the wax is not really budging, which is really nice. If you use a wax that's a little too soft, this part doesn't work as well. So here I am now doing the second mug, and of course this is very high speed, but again, just wiping off all of the excess orange glaze, because I want to have a real crispness of the edge, and that's the nice thing about the wax. It allows you to have a real crispness of edge, because I am going to be then dipping this in the black glaze to get my background. So I will put a link in the video description to the wax and to Cornell, who I buy it from. Now I'm going to wax the bottom of the foot because I would like to avoid glaze getting on there. I'm actually using a different wax. At school, I have a Laguna wax. The reason that I used the Forbes wax on the glaze part is I find that it's a little bit harder and more resistant to active sponging. Now, keep in mind that wax does not prevent glaze from getting on the piece. Wax just makes the glaze easier to remove. All right, I have my black glaze. It's not a full bucket, so I'm going to take it and put it at an angle, so when I dip the cup in, I can submerge it. Without it being at an angle, I would be hitting the bottom down there. Okay, so now as it comes out, you can begin to see where the wax is starting to bead up, and I actively shake off the extra. And I usually hold it upside down when I shake off the extra. And any place where I still have glaze that's sitting on the wax, I'm going to end up by just sponging that off. So you can see I've got those little areas. You'd never leave glaze on top of wax, because if you do, it could just kind of pop off of your piece in the kiln, and it could end up on the shelf. Now, when it's dry enough, I'm going to pick it up and I'll do the handle part. And now, with a little sponge, just going to come in here and remove some of the extra glaze. And I can kind of see where the wax is underneath there. And then here I'm just dipping the handles that I didn't get. I had to wait until the body was dry enough that I could handle it and turn it over and get the handle part. And here I'm just completely finishing wiping off all of the black beaded up glaze, getting everything off the wax and off the foot ring as well. And there we go, all wiped and ready to go in the kiln. Here are the finished results after they were fired. The edges are nice and crisp, and I even was able to present one of those to David Fulcher, who was one of our Bengals legends here in Cincinnati, as we celebrated with staff at my school on Friday.